games or what? Show me!
Streets of Rage proved to be a critical and commercial smash for Sega, making a sequel inevitable. Behold, Streets of Rage 2. How original. I would have appreciated a cheesy action movie subtitle like The Return or The Revenge or Resurrection. That actually would have been appropriate, seeing as how Mr. X somehow survived his encounter with the purveyors of vigilante justice and has returned to terrorize the peaceful city of wherever. It's a year later, Axel's gone off to be a part-time bodyguard, and Blaze is a dance instructor. Okay, sure. Adam, on the other hand, has rejoined the force and lives happily with his little brother Skate. Because he wears skates, you see. Fast forward a bit, Skate calls Axel, telling him that Adam's been abducted by the immortal Mr. X, random beatings and lootings are at an all-time high with no end in sight. Axel teams up with Skate, yeah, because a badass ex-cop really wants a 12-year-old's help, I'm sure, Blaze, and an ex-professional wrestler, Max Thunder. I get that the first game's plot wasn't exactly original. Shit, the story wasn't even a selling point. However, this is a stupid fucking narrative, okay? Yeah, why bother coming up with anything fresh? Let's just resurrect the big bad from the last game, then have him abduct one of the badasses only to replace said badass with a fucking 12-year-old. Yeah, that sounds amazing. As you can see, the graphics have been improved significantly. The sprites are a bit bigger, sporting more detail and smoother animation. There are nice atmospheric touches like shafts of light and billowing smoke. I'm thinking the developers were fans of Tony Scott. Once again, the score was provided by Yuzo Koshiro. Like the original, it's great. Some themes have returned while receiving a slight update in the process. Very energetic, and it feels like a natural progression in style and form. Overall, the presentation's terrific. I seriously have no complaints here. The gameplay is a different story somewhat. On the positive end, the action certainly feels more frenetic. Enemies are a bit more challenging, especially the bosses. Character movesets have been updated. Now the player can pull off a semi-special move where you double tap forward then press the attack button. Axel's is unintentionally hilarious since it sounds as if he's shouting. Really, what the fuck else can he be saying? Regardless, it's a powerful move that's easy to trigger and renders the special somewhat useless. Not that you'd really want to use it anyway, seeing as it isn't nearly as engaging or effective as the blue and white in the original. In Streets of Rage 2, your special attack is just a special move that actually eats away at your life every time you use it. That reminds me of Moonwalker, also for Genesis, though it's nowhere near as effective or entertaining to watch. The new characters aren't terribly interesting. Max Thunder may be incredibly powerful, but he moves so fucking slow. He's somewhat bland looking on the design end and feels like a cheap stand-in for Hagar, or Hagar, whatever. I'm not lying when I say if it hadn't been for the sake of this review, I would never have chosen him. Skate is Adam's little brother. I can't believe I'm watching a 12-year-old beat up hard-ass street demons. Yes, it's a video game, but come the fuck on. This is just absurd. Why not a 60-year-old drunk uncle that swore to look after his nephew after his brother died? Sure, it's just as ridiculous, but that's some serious action movie shit right there. With Skate, it may as well be Home Alone with a vengeance. That being said, he's got some killer moves. Unlike the other three characters, Skate can actually run, or skate if you will. I must admit, that's an awesome addition. Some of his grapples are fucking hilarious. Like the prequel, you can have two-player co-op, which is easily the best way to play, but something's missing. There's only one ending. Yes, let's take out the one idea that actually encouraged players to mow through it again after they've already beaten it. What kind of sense does that make? I'll tell you, none. Streets of Rage 2 is often considered the best of the bunch, but I couldn't disagree more. The loss of Adam, the blue and white special attack, and alternate endings combined with the stupid narrative and rehashed main villain, Streets of Rage 2 is like Beverly Hills Cop 2. Yeah, it's got more action and better production values, but it doesn't match the original. Unfortunately, like Eddie Murphy's classic film franchise, the third is easily the worst. The story is beyond ridiculous. Mr. X returns once again, I swear, why isn't this fucker dead yet? And has started a robotics research company looking to replace high-ranking officials with robo-clones. Once they're in place, he plans to run the city at the touch of a button. Wanting to keep law enforcement distracted, the Syndicate has placed bombs all around the city while Mr. X carries out his quote-unquote brilliant plan. Dr. Zan, a cybernetically enhanced human, decides to rat on the Syndicate and contacts Blaze, who then informs Axel and Adam. The developers decided to ditch Max Thunder in favor of Dr. Zan, making him the fourth playable character. Rage Thrace is difficult to review because as much as I dislike the direction the story has taken, it's actually better in terms of gameplay. The ever-present timer in Rage 1 and 2 has been replaced with a power meter. Once it fills up, you can perform a special without the hefty cost of life. It's not the blue and white, no, still I feel this is an acceptable compromise. Every character can run now, not just skate. Thank you very much. Developers managed to break up the monotony a bit. For example, there's a stage where you have to avoid a bulldozer as you burst through concrete walls. Frustrating at first, and it will undoubtedly cost you a life or two, though it's a refreshing change of pace. Visually, this is a damned good looking game. My favorite stages are the disco and the construction site. In the disco, there's flashing lights and lasers with a crowd dancing and moshing in the background. You can see how the lights interact with the environment, never betraying the perspective and creating a sense of realism. Control is as it should be, responsive, easy to pick up and play, maintaining the classic feel. Some changes were made, such as weapons. They've been incorporated into your special and semi-special moveset, so you can deal even more damage. On the downside, they now have a life bar, for lack of a better description. After so many hits, your weapon of choice will eventually break and vanish. Believe it or not, this fact wouldn't bother me so much if it weren't for the incredible difficulty. Really, if you thought the first two games were too easy, I can guarantee you won't be saying that about Rage 3. Even on the easy setting, this game's a hard ass. Adding insult to injury, even if you should complete the game on easy, you'll only see 5 of the 7 available stages. That reminds me of Demolition Man, which pissed me off then as it does now. What really disappoints me now is that multiple endings are back, though I've yet to see any of them. As sad as that may sound, it's nothing compared to the music. This sounds like a DJ vomited on a turntable. Yuzo Koshiro returned, bringing his automated composing system, which employed randomized sequencing, resulting in techno-fueled aural chaos. That sounds like shit. There's very little cohesion, and the catchy beats of his previous efforts are absent. What was once a memorable and distinctive soundtrack is nothing more than a wall of noise that does absolutely nothing to elevate the soundscape. Honestly, it may have been interesting had it been released as an album with no relation to the franchise. Unfortunately, it wasn't. The Streets of Rage series is by no means perfect, though it's well worth owning, if only for the first game. The second and third entries, I'll leave that to you.